We are going to read the story, Thank You, Ma'am. This is written by Langston Hughes, who is an American author. This man, James Mercer Langston Hughes, he is an American poet, columnist, activist, and a playwright as well. He is considered to be a pioneer of black modern literature, but at the same time, his work is not just a reflection of modern ideas, but he is talking about the experiences and certain character traits of black Americans. His writings basically generally focus on the working class of blacks in America. When we look at the title of this story, Thank You, Ma'am, it shows a little word of courtesy, thank you, which is said by a younger person to an older person, and ma'am means some female character to whom someone else is thanking. This story starts in Harlem in 1920 at night of about 11 o'clock. Then the story shifts to the house of Miss Jones. Over here, there is a young boy, Roger. He tries to snatch away the handbag from Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones is an elderly person, but she does not let Roger take away her bag. Rather, she takes that boy to her house, gives him something to eat, and she tries to put some sense into his head as well. Later, that boy goes away. She gives him some money also, saying thank you. Here are two conflicts in the story, internal and external conflict. The external conflict is between Roger and Miss Jones. Miss Jones, when takes Roger to her home, leaves him alone for a while, and her purse is also nearby. She has left Roger to decide whether he is going to steal some money and run or just stay there like a decent, good person. And then there is internal conflict. It is within Roger. This internal conflict lets Roger decide whether he is going to take the right path or stick to his old ways. We are going to look at the summary of the story, Thank You, Ma'am. It is an interesting story in which the writer tells us that by our kindness and our kind treatment, we can make other people behave nicely. This story, it is talking about a lady who changes a spoiled child with her kind treatment. A large woman is shown who is carrying a large purse, and she was returning home late one night. A boy, he started running and dashed behind the lady and tried to snatch her purse. The strap broke, but due to the weight of the purse, that boy, he fell backwards and as he has lost his balance. The woman caught him by the front of his shirt tightly, and she took that boy to her house. The boy tried to run away, but the lady, she did not let him loose. When they entered their home, Mrs. Jones, she left the door open. She asked the boy's name and she told him to wash his face. And then she herself went into the other room and she turned him loose at last. The woman asked the boy, why did he try to snatch her purse? And the boy told that he wanted a pair of blue suede shoes. The woman told him that when she was a child, she was also like him. She had done things that she would not tell anyone. She wanted to show him that she understood the predicament and the situation. She told the boy that she too remembered a time when she wanted nice things, but she couldn't afford them. She left him alone with her purse and the door open. She was showing him that she trusted him enough to leave it open. But the boy, he did not run away, as he felt that he would not want to be mistrusted again. While they ate, the woman, she didn't ask him any questions, but she was talking about her work to that boy, that how she worked as the hotel beauty shop. After that, they had a little sweet cake. She gave the boy around $10 so that he can buy those shoes. And then she told him to go. Mrs. Jones, she led Roger to the Baron's stoop and said that she hoped that he was going to behave himself. He barely managed to say thank you before the large woman shut the door. He never saw that woman again. The greatest compliment, perhaps, is that she did not see the boy again. It gives the impression that perhaps the boy came out of his life of crime, and the author, he is leaving us to think that what would have happened to that young past thief. And everyone is hoping that perhaps he mended his ways due to the brief influence of this lady. We are going to talk about the main character of the story, Thank You Ma'am. The main character is a lady, Mrs. Lula Bates Washington Jones. She is the protagonist of the story, as the whole story and the action taking place is directly related to her. She is shown as a huge, large African American lady. She carries a big bulky purse with her, and instead of being afraid when the little boy Roger tries to snatch away her purse, she acts bravely and treats the boy kindly. Although she is huge, she is strong, but she has a very kind and soft heart. She trusts Roger when she leaves him with the purse and the door open. She is trying to help this boy and trying to knock some sense into his head. She is generous to him and she does not scold him unnecessarily. She tells Rogers that she is working in a beauty house and she lives in a room which is shared by many other people. She is a hard-working lady, but she does not have a lot of money. When she is talking to the boy, she speaks to him as if the boy is her own son. She has a maternal tone. She has a caring attitude towards this boy. She scolds him and then asks him to wash up and then gives him something to eat. She gives the boy some money. It's not that she is a wealthy person. She has very little money on her own, but she is kind and she wants to help this boy. So therefore, she gives that money to the boy so that he can buy shoes and does not steal again. She comes across as a strong but a large-hearted person. She has spent perhaps a very hard life, but this hard life has given her compassion and understanding for the teenager and particularly for the poor. She makes a reference to God while she is talking. Perhaps she is a believer in God and she might be a religious and a spiritual person. She also talks about a difficult past, but she is not treating others with unkindness as if she was treated. Now we are going to talk about the second important character of the story from Thank You Ma'am. The first character was Mrs. Jones, who was the protagonist, and the whole story revolved around her. Now the other character is of a little boy, Roger. Roger is a teenager. He is thin and frail and has a very wild look about him. He is not dressed up properly, rather he is wearing a very old faded jeans and a pair of sneakers. He is feeling very confused and ill at ease because Mrs. Jones, instead of scolding him, or reporting him to the police is treating him very politely. He is surprised and he is shocked. He is grateful again on her kind attitude, but still he is utterly misunderstanding her intentions. Roger is shown as a thief, but he is a young boy. In the beginning of the story, when he is trying to steal Mrs. Jones' purse, he tells her that he is not doing it for food or for shelter, but to fulfill some of his personal desire. As I've told you, he is not stealing for food or for shelter, but he wants a pair of blue suede shoes, which his family perhaps cannot afford to give him. Or perhaps he does not have anyone who would fulfill such desires for him. When he is caught and Mrs. Jones takes this boy to her home, he is again very much surprised that how can anyone be so kind and so good to him. She gives him an opportunity to run away, but he doesn't, because he is again showing respect for this lady. He changes his personality from a naive, wild, and disobedient boy to someone mature and understanding and respectful. We are looking at the themes and moral lessons of the story, Thank You, Ma'am. The first thing that we notice over here is the word thank you. It might be a reference to good breeding and gratefulness. The second theme that we notice in the story is of poverty. And due to poverty, this boy Rogers snatches the purse from Mrs. Jones. Along with this evil deed, there are certain themes like kindness, love, respect, and trust, which are also very dominant in the story. Over here, we come to know that there are many difficult situations for everyone in life. One needs help and trust from others to overcome these situations and not fall into evil acts. We also want to make sure that with kindness and with love, everything can be changed and corrected. In modern times, street crime, for example stealing, it is still a big problem for a lot of people. People are stealing sometimes to fulfill their basic necessities of life, and sometimes just to fulfill some of their whims and desires. In the story, this boy is not stealing for eating or for a shelter on his head. He just wants a pair of blue shoes. That's why he falls into this evil act. In the story, it is also shown that people can change with love, kindness, correct guidance. A bad person can choose to take up a better way of life and do away with evil acts. Now, the most interesting part is a question for you. When a person is doing something wrong, like lying or cheating or stealing, should he be given another chance? Would you give a chance to a person who has stolen from you? Will you or will you not?